Top 10 Things You Need to Do to Prepare for the Coronavirus. With the episode of the Wuhan Coronavirus, individuals everywhere throughout the world are beginning to pay heed and think the most exceedingly awful. All things considered, mainstream society is filled to the overflow with prophetically catastrophic situations, including the apocalypse because of a viral flare-up. At this moment there's little possibility of individuals kicking the bucket all at once, and there's no danger of a zombie flare-up presently, yet that doesn't mean the circumstance isn't not kidding and that it couldn't get ugly. Setting yourself up for an episode that could clear out a large number of individuals should be possible, and you don't have to begin diving a safe house in your lawn to do it. Endurance is tied in with being readied. What you do today could spare your life tomorrow. With that in mind, here are the best 10 basic hints to get ready for the coronavirus episode. 10. Stockpile food and water. The normal individual consumes among 1.5 and 3,000 calories per day, however without nourishment, the body starts to separate. Biting the dust from hunger is horrendous, and it can take upwards of 70 days. Be that as it may, without fluids, lack of hydration will prompt passing in only 3 or 4. Make certain to reserve 2 or 3 months of canned and dried out nourishment per individual. Military proportions pack a huge amount of calories and have a time span of usability of as long as 5 years, so get a few on the off chance that you can. You'll require enough water for at any rate 14 days, yet ideally 4. A large portion of a gallon daily for one individual is about right. In the event that you come up short on the crisp stuff, you can sanitize water from a faulty source by bubbling it or including a pinch of iodine or blanch. There's additionally an incredible creation called the life straw, which you can use to drink water straightforwardly from a polluted source. The straw channels water as it goes through. I prescribe getting a few and keeping them available. 9. Purchase essential tools. On the off chance that the plague you're endeavoring to endure is more regrettable than the Black Death, there's a decent possibility society will take a short time to refocus subsequent to everything fades away. All things considered, if history's shown us anything, it's that anybody can capitulate to ailment, including rulers, presidents, tyrants, and the person who rings you up at the general store. In the event that a major bit of the populace ceases to exist rapidly, you will need to fight for yourself, and that implies you're going to require a few instruments. Envision searching for nourishment, yet all you find are bolted and void houses. On the off chance that you have a crowbar, you don't have anything to stress over. What's more, there's nothing amiss with breaking into a relinquished home while attempting to endure an end of the world. You'll additionally need to have a standard arrangement of instruments in a tool kit. In particular, it ought to incorporate a mallet, screwdriver set, a wrench, and a multi-tool too. 8. Get yourself some weapons. Survivalists are notable for amassing firearms and ammunition, and not only for chasing. On the off chance that the most exceedingly awful occurs, and enough incredible, will disintegrate and crumple. After that occurs, life will look a great deal like a dystopian film, and you're going to need to fight for yourself. When zombies begin strolling about, they'll execute you and your entire family for a generous supper in a protected spot to remain. Your best guard is a decent offense, and that implies you'll require weapons. Shotguns are extraordinary at chasing winged creatures, but at the same time they're perfect for crowdedness battle. A rifle is required for chasing greater creatures, so get one with a decent extension. Lastly, guns, they're little, simple to utilize, and have extraordinary halting force. I'd likewise recommend you get a book on chasing and cleaning creatures. In the event that you don't approach weapons because of neighborhood laws, a blade or crossbow is likewise incredible at chasing and shielding yourself. In any event, get a decent chasing blade and trust in the best 3. 7. Stock up on disinfectant. Plague specialists wore bizarre covers with snouts loaded up with herbs intended to sanitize the air as they relaxed. This was on the grounds that they thought infection was spread through awful stenches. That thought has been disproven, however it gives us a genuine case of how to plan yourself when a disease is airborne or spread through touch. Standard shopper items that slaughter most fatal pathogens are modest and effectively found. Load up on dye, which can sanitize anything, and as I referenced before, it can make water safe to drink. Hand cleanser is acceptable after all other options have been exhausted, however not when there's a dreadful bug noticeable all around. Get some hand sanitizer, and use it at whatever point you contact normal articles, or interact with others. In the event that you don't have any of that, liquor will murder most germs, however it ought to be utilized if all else fails. In the event that you choose to purchase a cutting-edge cover, careful ones won't help against the coronavirus. You'll be needing a CBRN grade full face cover. These are concoction, organic, radiological, and atomic guard evaluated. 6. Create a safe room and house. You're going to need to guard your home, and that implies you'll need to go to that trusty thing that has helped keep the US military running easily for a considerable length of time, conduit tape. It's anything but difficult to tear, sticks to everything, and will assist you with making sure about your home and keep the infection out. And keeping in mind that you're purchasing the tape, snatch a lot of plastic drop materials. On the off chance that you figure shutting the front entryway and closing all the windows will keep the infection under control, ask yourself, when was the last time a creepy crawly got in? In the event that insects and ants can discover their way into your home, so can an airborne illness. Utilize the drop fabrics to cover each window and entryway, fixing them with pipe tape as you go. In the event that you have a chimney, close the pipe and seal that up as well. The exact opposite thing you have to do is set up an isolate room someplace in your home. This is the place you would put somebody who is giving indications of contamination to confine them from the remainder of the group. 5. Prep your immune system. The main resistance our bodies have against a conceivably savage disease is its insusceptible framework. The most ideal approach to keep yourself fit as a fiddle is to take everything from lysine and vitamin C to practicing routinely. You're going to need to reserve some medication, so get together as much as could reasonably be expected. Score a few anti-infection agents, and guarantee that any individual who needs insulin or an EpiPen has a prepared stockpile. On the off chance that you have a remedy, don't hold up until the last moment to fill it, have in any event a month's inventory available, or you could encounter risky withdrawal indications, particularly where antidepressants are concerned. Going without any weaning period on professionally prescribed meds can destroy you quicker than the plague, so consistently ensure you have sufficient. Moreover, you ought to have cold medication, multivitamins, antimicrobial salves, and an all-around supplied emergency treatment pack. All things considered, you would prefer not to endure the plague of the century and wind up kicking the bucket from a contamination after you get a cut on your hand. 6. 4. Create a bug-out bag. Perhaps the most punctual thing a legislature will do when there's an episode is to isolate the tainted territories. This has occurred in Wuhan, and inside a moderately brief time frame, in excess of 10 million individuals have been compelled to wait. Yet, while this was going on, outsiders who weren't contaminated were cleared. On the off chance that something very similar happens where you will be, you may end up compelled to escape with next to zero notification. In these circumstances, it's in every case great to have a bug-out pack prepared. A very much supplied sack needs all the things I've discussed on this rundown. Be that as it may, only enough for a 72-hour time frame. You ought to likewise include a crisis radio, electric lamp, save batteries, waterproof matches, and a stone and steel. Remember garments and ladylike cleanliness items too. While you can purchase bug-out sacks from different spots on the web, most survivalists would concur, you should stock your own dependent on your own needs and well-being prerequisites. You'll additionally need to keep a duplicate of your city's calamity plan in it, which can demonstrate safe approaches to go in an emergency. 7. 3. Prepare for a barter economy. On the off chance that the flare-up clears out an enormous part of the neighborhood populace, the survivors will be left to get the pieces. The entirety of that valuable money you escaped the bank may not be a lot of good in the outcome. You're going to need to take advantage of history and gain proficiency with the advantages of a deal economy. Everything in a post-pandemic circumstance will depend on exchange. No one is going to surrender their penicillin for a bar of gold or a wad of money. Before Hitler and his National Communist gathering came to control in Germany, the country was governed by the Weimar Republic. The economy was a ruins, and the money at the time was fundamentally useless. Individuals went to an underground bargaining framework and it functioned admirably enough to prop things up. The equivalent is genuine right now in current Venezuela. The most ideal way you can get ready for this is to load up on a great deal of a usually required things. This could be disinfectant treatment, face veils, different sorts of medication, or whatever else individuals should endure a plague of incredible scale. Also, remember, nuts and bolts, for example, tissue will be in high demand. 8. 2. Get hold of some boredom busters. When an episode happens and spreads to your zone, you may end up isolated for quite a while. On the off chance that the force has gone out, you can disregard viewing The Mandalorian or playing Fortnite. In any case, that doesn't mean you need to leave fatigue alone your ruin. Regardless of whether the force is gone out, there's still a ton you can do to remain normal when the social influencer in your gathering understands that Instagram's gone and he needs some consideration. Ensure you have heaps of books to peruse. Get an assortment of engaging titles, yet you ought to likewise keep some survivalist manuals available also. No one can really tell when they may spare your life. Puzzle books and old educational committee games are additionally an amazing method to take a break. Weariness may not execute you legitimately, yet it can make your life hopeless, so plan ahead. 9. 1. Prepare for the worst. It's conceivable that somebody in your gathering will pass on. At the point when that occurs, their body will start to deteriorate very quickly. It will discharge put-away gases and dung, and it can in any case spread malady. Ebola is particularly awful where disease from carcasses is concerned, on account of the enormous measure of blood included. Be that as it may, a carcass can be perilous regardless of whether passing was caused normally. It is fundamental that you don't contact the body without gloves and a veil. Discarding a carcass is no simple assignment, and on the off chance that you've viewed our video on Inconceivable Sense, you'll realize that the smell of copying people isn't something you need to understanding. Rather than incineration, make like a Mexican medication cartel and break down the remaining parts. Your most solid option is to cover the body and spread it with lye. Get a scoop and burrow an opening around 6 feet down. Cautiously store the body and sprinkle a couple of cups of lye over it, and cover it with earth. Inside a generally brief time frame, it will decimate everything except the bones and teeth. 10. I'd prefer to call attention to that while this rundown is mostly for amusement, it highlights an undeniable peril today. If you don't mind, look into your city's catastrophe plan and ensure you are as readied as you can be. Pandemics and diseases don't for the most part give preemptive guidance. Things are raising and this might be your lone opportunity to act. Good karma. We may all need it.